Right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to my info session on my upcoming Ink and Inspiration book writing and publishing mastermind course. I am Amy Zellmer. I'm going to start sharing my screen. And my computer thinks it's a Monday. It's very slow today. There we go. All right. So, welcome everyone. Again, I am Amy Zellmer. Oops, sorry. Okay. So, today what we're going to talk about, we're going to cover why your story is important for the world to hear. Why creating your platform and growing your list or your audience is important. We're going to briefly cover different types of publishing, and then I'm going to share all the nitty gritty details on the 6-month course. So, if you don't know who I am the editor in chief of Midwest Yoga and Life magazine. I am an award winning author. I've published 6 books. I also podcast host. I have 2 podcasts. I have one podcast called Faces of TBI, and that is for brain injury survivors, caregivers, loved ones, and professionals. And my other one is Creating Wellness from Within, and that is for anybody who is interested in learning more about wellness, self care, and just living a healthier life. I'm a former professional photographer. I had a photography studio for almost 25 years. 10 of that was in a storefront location in a downtown area. And then I had 5 years in an artist loft. So it was like a live work community. And then in 2021, I purchased the magazine and have been doing that as my main gig since 21. So here we are. I can't believe it's 2024 already. And I started blogging back in 2003 on Xanga. I don't know if any of you remember Xanga, but it was like the original blogging platform. That and then Blogspot came along. That was a Google product. And so now here we are. Gosh, it's 21 years later. Um, so blogging was so Xanga was almost like the first real social media, if you want to say. So you could have your avatar and you could comment on each other's blogs. And so I made a lot of photography friends through Xanga back in the day that are still really good friends to this day. Um, so just kind of a cool little backstory about blogging. Oh, let me touch my screen. There we go. All right. So if you have a blog, you have a story. If you have a story, you have a book. So it doesn't matter where you are in your journey. If you have a story, you can have a book. So if you have a blog, you already have a book. If you don't have a blog, that's fine. You can start writing today, and you truly could have a book in a few short months. Everybody has a story, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. So if you've been aspiring to write a fiction book, maybe you've already started, maybe you just kind of have the notes up in your head, starting to get it out on paper or, on your computer, um, is the first step. And perhaps you have actually been blogging and you have like some entries already, or maybe it's not even a blog, it's just on your computer on a document, or maybe you're old school and have it on a notebook. But everybody has a story. And I hear all the time, like, yeah, I've always thought about writing a book, but I don't know if anyone would read it. And the answer is they would, because it's going to resonate with somebody. Whatever your story is, it is going to resonate with somebody else. And whether they might be going through a similar situation, or maybe you just have a really inspiring story, it is definitely going to resonate with somebody else. So I had a story that needed to be told. I slipped and fell on an icy driveway in February of 2014. And it's funny, if you ask any TBI survivor what their date of injury was, almost all of us can rattle it off. We know the exact date. Some of us know the exact time that it happened. So I fell February 2nd, 2014. I just had my 10-year brain anniversary this year. My injuries included a severe concussion, which is also called a traumatic brain injury. I had major whiplash, a dislocated sternum, and I tore a bunch of muscles like in my neck and chest area. And I started writing about it. Originally, I published it on my own personal blog. And a friend of mine, I was living in my artist loft at this time, and she was a new friend because my fall happened literally a few weeks after moving into the artist loft. And so she was a new friend, and she encouraged me to publish it on Huffington Post. And I was like, why? Like, I didn't think my story was at all interesting. I actually kind of wrote it as an FU to all my friends who had just like left. Like everybody just kind of left. Nobody knew what to say or do, so they just left. And it was my 1-year anniversary that I wrote this blog. And my friend was like, I think you should submit this to the Huffington Post. And this is still back when Ariana Huffington owned it. And she did all the legwork to find out how to submit it and all that. And I submitted it. And I actually heard back from Ariana herself within 2 hours. And she told me that they were going to run it. And it ran about 2 weeks later. And this is sort of a screenshot of the front page, or the page of my article. And at the time, it had about 860 likes when it kind of first went live. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. Like, I never had that many likes on something on Facebook, right? Or Twitter or anything. And I was like, man, that's amazing. And as the days went on, it just kept going up, 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 up. Pretty soon I had 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 likes. And I was like, what is happening? And keep in mind, this was 2015. There wasn't a lot of talk about brain injury yet at that time. And I was seeing it shared all over the place on Facebook. And a friend of mine texted me the link and he's like, hey, I think you should read this article. She even has a Yorkie. And I was like, did you read the byline? And he was like, no way, that's you. So that was pretty cool to see, like, that it had enough of an impact that he read it, not even knowing that that was my article. So it continued to go viral. And that told me that I needed to keep writing. Like, I was on to something. And so I continued writing. Okay, so this over on the left. So this is like my 5 minutes of fame. So this is the front page of HuffPost. Like when you went to huffingtonpost.com, my article was trending on the front page. And over here, Christina Aguilera had her baby. And Jon Stewart had just announced his retirement from The Daily Show. And now he's back. But anyway, so that's my 5 minutes of fame, being on the front page of HuffPost. So I continued writing, and these were some of my next articles: 5 things every TBI survivor wants you to understand, quit using your brain injury as an excuse, you look great. So these all did really well. None of them ever went quite the same virality as my first one. This one did pretty well, this because people love lists. So that one had done pretty well as well. But this first article still, like I said, it was well over 50,000 likes and thousands of shares. So that was pretty cool. And then I met a writing group. So that all happened in February. In May of 2015, I met a writing group. A friend of mine suggested this women's writing group. And so I attended. And they were like, Amy, you have a book. You have at this point I had about 12 blog posts. And they were like on HuffPost. And they were like, Amy, you have a book. And I was like, I know nothing about publishing a book. And they're like, we can help you. And so there were editors in the group, there were printers, there were publishers. So they all came together and helped me publish my book. So in August, I launched a Kickstarter to fund my book, and it was funded within 3 hours, which was a fluke. Don't think that's the normal that happens on Kickstarter, but like it was awesome. So in November, my very first book came out, and that is This Life with Traumatic Brain Injury, Finding the Road Back to Normal. And here's my Kickstarter on the left. I raised $3,671, and my original goal was $2,200, so I exceeded my goal. And then in May of 16, it won a silver medal in the Midwest Book Awards. So that means it was one of the top 3 books in its category of health. So that really like was so meaningful to me, because that told me that my book actually was well done. Like it wouldn't have made it to the finals if it wasn't like well done. So that was really a special time for me. Writing your story can be therapeutic, not only for you, but for your reader as well. So how can your story change other people's lives, right? You can be an inspiration. And I heard all the time from people how my book changed their life, changed their attitude on their recovery. Or I'd hear from their family or their loved ones, and it was giving them an insight into what their loved one was going through. So again, I guess I had more to say. So I continued to write, and I had a second book come out, Embracing the Journey, Moving Forward After Brain Injury. So again, these were all articles originally published on HuffPost. And then I did an anthology. So an anthology is a collection of stories written by other people. And I had about 89 contributors write their story and share it in this anthology. And all 3 of these won silver medals. And then I did another anthology. I started a series called Concussion Discussions, and these are all written by professionals and providers. And so the original Concussion Discussions won a gold medal. So that took first place. So that was very, very exciting. And this was actually during COVID. So I couldn't go to the book awards, but it was still very exciting. And then we did a volume 2. And then just last year, I published the Chair Yoga Pocket Guide. So I've continued my writing journey, and I'm sure it's not over yet. I just don't know what my next one will be, but I'm sure there will be another one still. Only 0.06% of books sell 1,000 or more copies. There are 6 billion books on the market every year. These numbers are just staggering when I heard them. I have been able to consistently sell 20 to 30 books a month on Amazon. And my original book, My Life with Traumatic Brain Injury, has sold almost 4,000 copies in its lifetime in 9 years. And total, all of my books have sold close to 6,000 copies. So I feel I've done very well for being a self-published author. But you can do it too. So how can you sell more books? Your book will not sell itself. This is why you need to grow your audience early. You need to create raving fans. And a lot of folks think, oh, I'm going to put it on Amazon and it'll sell. Well, people need to know it's there. Like Amazon doesn't do that work for you. So these are some of the things we do cover in the upcoming course. But you have to have a marketing budget and a marketing plan. These two things are crucial. Some of that can be email marketing. Email is still king because you own that email. When somebody gives you an email, you own it. Social media is rented space. Social media could go away at any time. Your account could get closed. Things happen. So you don't have any control over social media, but that email list is yours to nurture and grow. So email is king. Content marketing, social media, in-person networking, snail mail. Snail mail works better than ever now because nobody's doing it. You can syndicate and repurpose your content. You can do podcasts, whether it's your own podcast or you're a guest on other podcasts. You can do videos, whether that's live streaming on social media or creating a YouTube channel. You can do speaking, in-person speaking events. But the key, number 12, is to be consistent. You have to consistently market that book. And that is the key to creating raving fans. And again, those are all things that we go over in my course. And then let's just talk briefly about the different types of publishing, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. So the three main types of publishing are traditional, self, and hybrid. So traditional publishing is what you traditionally think of, like the big authors. They have an agent and a book publisher. They may get an advance to write their book, which advances are harder and harder and harder to get nowadays. They're not, unless you're a big name, right? Like maybe Oprah probably has her own publishing company. But if you're a big name, you might, like Stephen King probably gets an advance. But advances also, what that advance is it's a large chunk of money. Let's just say it's $5,000. And then when your book is officially published and you start earning royalties, you don't actually get paid royalties until you've earned down that $5,000, because that was an advance on your royalties. So a lot of people don't realize that. So you might not actually start making money off your book for a year or more. So just knowing that advance is an advance on your royalties. Traditional publishing will do some marketing of your book, but it's still ultimately up to you to do the vast majority of marketing. And then there's self-publishing, which is what I did, where you just hire the editor and the formatter and everybody, and then you get it printed through a printer. And then there's hybrid, which is a little bit of both. And hybrid is where you pay some money up front and you get like a package. And so that might include your editor and a copywriter, a copy editor and a proofreader and the formatting of your book. And you may get like, say, 100 copies in that price. And so that is a hybrid publisher, and they are usually in the $5,000 range, roughly, depending on what you want. But the big thing is to be aware of scams, because there are a lot of scams out there and a lot of companies that want to take advantage of you. There is a commercial. My parents are elderly, and so they watch, like, I don't know the channels, but there's those channels, like Turner Television, Turner Network, TNT, Turner Network Television, so where they watch like the older shows and movies, and they know their demographic, and so there is always ads for this publishing company, and it's like mybookpublisher.com or something like that. And I've always been so curious. I actually kind of want to call and just find out like their shtick. Because there are a lot of companies out there that will charge you like $20,000. And I mean, it's not a scam in the fact, like you will get your product, but it's a scam in the fact that you're paying way too much money for what they do for you. So just really being aware that a hybrid publisher is going to be somewhere in like 5, maybe 10,000, depending like how much you want them to do for you. So just being aware that those things, there are scams out there. And unfortunately, I've heard a lot of stories in my writing group. I know several women that paid $20,000, $30,000 and got nothing. Like the people disappeared. So just really being aware, okay? And we will cover these things in the course, and I have lots of resources for you in the course as well. So the world is waiting to read your story. Boldly go from blog to book or whatever it is, but getting it out there into the world. I challenge you to add author to your resume because it really is possible, and it's not quite as daunting as people think it is. People think it's really hard to publish a book or to write the book. And writing the book actually isn't as hard as you think. Um, and there's people who can help you. Um, behind every great writer is an even greater editor. So just know that. Um, all of my stuff is edited. So just knowing that editors really can make you sound really good. All right, so let's talk a little bit about my book writing course. So it's a 6-month writing mastermind. And our next module begins in June. It starts, I believe it's next week already, June 6th. So all these times are listed in Central Time, and all the classes are recorded, and you will get all the recordings and all the worksheets and everything that I provide. And they'll be available for you for 1 year following the end of the mastermind. So you have a year to access all of that. And so what I have done is we meet Thursdays at 6 p.m. and Mondays at 11:30 a.m. So we meet twice a month, and this is all on Zoom. So no matter where you are. The reason I have done this is I find that some people can't make daytime work and some people can't make nighttime work. And some can make both work. So I'm alternating the 2 times so that hopefully you can at least make all of the one time frame. And again, everything is recorded so you can watch the ones that you can't make it to. And I have had some people that can hardly make it to any live classes, but they're still coming to they're still doing the recordings. So if you can make all of them, that's awesome. Otherwise, if you can make, one or the other, that's why I have it structured that way. And some people only make it the once a month, and that's totally fine. Again, you'll get all the recordings. You still get your access to me. And so we begin in June. So again, all the dates. So once a month on Thursday evening and once a month on Monday in the AM. And then our topics. So in June, we start out with choosing your niche and creating your platform. July, we write your outline and building your audience. August, planning your chapters and sharing your why. September, writing and editing, fears and beliefs. October, types of publishing and crowdfunding. November, planning your book launch and ways to use your book. And so each month we will have a guest speaker who most of these are also published authors, or they are an editor or publisher. So we're going to have a guest speaker each month, which is my favorite part because our speakers are fantastic. And so each month, again, we're going to have a guest speaker. And also you get 3 coaching sessions with me, 3 one-on-ones with me over the course of the 6 months. And we have different investment options. So if you pay in full, it's $550, and you also receive a bonus coaching session with me. And then we have a 2-pay. So you can make 2 payments of $300, a 3-pay of $215, and then a 6-pay of $110 over the course of the 5 months. So there's different payment options for whatever is most comfortable for you. But again, if you do the payment in full, you get that extra one-on-one session with me. All right, so I'm going to bring Donna in here in just a moment, but Donna's here today. Donna took the course, just this last module that we had. And as a result of the class, she has this book coming out, Paul is Missing, which is a thriller novel. And Donna also has, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, maybe. There we go. And Donna also has several, I think you have one published and one on its way. Hang on, there we go. So you have one published and one on its way in children's books. You have Lester the Lion. You're still muted there, Donna. You have Lester the Lion Wants to Roar, which is about a lion who has a concussion. And then you have Lester the Lion Calls 911, which will be the one that's coming out shortly. But tell us a little bit about Paul is Missing and how this course helped you get this book out into the world.
Sure, thank you. This course was absolutely amazing. It was well worth the price. Sometimes you're always like, oh, is it really worth the money to do this? And this course was very, very much worth the money. A lot of practical information. The guest speakers were very, very good, as Amy mentioned. They just provided a lot of good information. We also did like the PowerPoint screens, and some people flinch at a PowerPoint because they're like, oh boy, that's going to be boring. Amy's PowerPoints are very, very good. Again, a lot of good information and, you know, very concise and just really, really moved the information that you need along. So you're really discovering the things that you need to know about writing. The other thing we did in the course was we would do round robins where we would break out and talk to other, people in the course. And I found that like really very, very crucial information. They would, other people would give you good information. That is where probably the best thing I learned in the course was I moved my book, Paul is Missing, along, because actually I think I started writing it in the very beginning, like 20 years ago. And then it kind of laid there for a long time. But it really encouraged me to get it out there, to stop just like, you know, playing with it, but to submit it for publication. I am hybrid published by a very good hybrid publisher. Amy actually helped connect me with that publisher. But the round robin really encouraged me to get Paul out there, to like let it go. And now it is in the editing process. The cover, as you saw, was done. And yeah, it's at final edit, and then it will be in a couple of months, it will be like released. So I just really can't say enough about the course and about working with other aspiring writers, because it makes you realize that like you're not alone. And I always thought like, oh well, I'm not a real writer. I'm just, you know, kind of playing around with this stuff. But you really understand when you talk to other people that your journey is very, very important, and a lot of other people are on the same journey as you. And that's another thing I learned from this course.
Mm-hmm. And so those round robins that Donna's talking about is we go around, everybody has a minute to share something that's going really well for them, and then something that they're struggling with. And then we take 3 minutes and everybody in the group can offer advice or commiserate with them. But sometimes the thing that you're struggling with, other people are also struggling with, or maybe they found a way to overcome that. And so it's a great way for everybody to help cheer each other on and share their own insights on ways that they've come over things. And I know, Donna, you were hung up on the editing process. And the one thing that we talk about in class is like, when you write, don't edit as you go. Like, try to resist that urge. And I know that was hard for you. And we finally like talked about like, just send it to the editor. That is their job. Someone who professionally edits books knows how to help guide you. And I know your editor recently had some feedback for you. What was some of that
Yes,
feedback?
I thought I wasn't ready to let the book go. I needed to do more of my own editing. I need to check the grammar. I needed to do this and that and the other thing. And then finally, with the encouragement of this class, because I really do believe I would still be holding on to the book if I hadn't taken the class. But I sent it like into my publisher, and it went to the editor, and the editor did give me some good feedback, and said that grammatically it was very like well done, and that it just needed like a couple of like developmental tweaks, in that I just need to move like a couple of things around for it to make more sense. It's hard to edit your own stuff because you know the ending. So maybe, you know, if I just moved a little part up, it would make more sense. So yeah, no, the editor said that like it was, so it was like, oh, I guess I was closer than I thought, because I
Yep.
thought like it's not ready. No one's going to want to see this yet. And he was like, yeah, very, very well done. Just need a couple developmental tweaks. So.
And so Donna, you're an example. You had already written this book, more or less, years ago, and you just sat on it because you didn't know how to actually publish it. And so that's a great example of someone who has maybe already done some of the work. And then we had other people in our class who hadn't even started. They just had like a concept in their head and have started moving forward. And then there was quite a few who were kind of like in that middle where they had some of it, but they were stuck. They didn't know what to do next. So no matter where you are on your journey, you will fit into this class. Like I said, Donna already had this done, just didn't know how to actually publish it. And that I find that there's a lot of people who have written the book or have done most of the work, but don't know what to do with it. And so that is all covered in this class, because that is usually the biggest question or the biggest hang up. I just don't know how to actually get it published. And so Donna, I know you used Kirkhouse Publishers, who I have used for all of my books as well. And she was one of our guest speakers. And so again, you'll get a lot of resources in this class to help you actually get it done. If you're at that point and you want to get it done, you're going to get it done. So Donna, thank you so much for being here and sharing that with us.
Oh, thank you.
I can't wait to read it. All right, I'm going to go back to my screen share here real quick. All right, so there's Donna's beautiful book cover. And I know Kirkhouse also helped her. They created the book cover for her too. So I love it. All right, so. Oh yeah, she did the illustrations for your Lester.
On Lester too. So that was another really good thing that moved it along, because I was stuck on illustration for like a year. So yeah, they really moved that along as well.
Yeah. Thanks for reminding me, because if anyone is in that child's book genre, getting those illustrations too can be challenging. I know Donna was stuck on that for a few years. All right, so Q&A time. Does anyone have any questions? Here is all my other stuff, my social media. I'm Amy Zalmer or Midwest Yoga Life Meg, pretty much everywhere. So go ahead, you can either unmute or you can drop a question in the comments if you have any questions or comments.
Hi, I'm Cynthia. I have a question.
Hi.
I'm sorry if I was late. You might have said it. How long are the classes on Mondays and Thursdays?
Oh, great question. So I allot 90 minutes. Sometimes they're 60 and sometimes they're 90. Just depends how many people show up and how many questions that we might have. So 60 to 90 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the work that you do.
Yes, thank you.
I have a question, Amy.
Yes.
Hi. So I have a similar story as you do, and I'm a yoga instructor as well. But I've had a brain injury,
Oh,
and I wrote a book. It's already written. It's been written for a while now. But my concern is the editing. Because so I'm French, I have an accent, and I do speak the language a little differently than you guys, but nonetheless, my concern is how does the editor keep the sense of what's going on during that brain injury? Because I wrote my book as
Oh,
I
yeah.
experienced my brain injury. It went on for 8 years. And so I just recovered. And so now I'm ready to just move forward with the book. But I'm just worried that an editor who's never had a brain injury or doesn't understand any of it, it's going to just completely transform everything. And
No, a true book editor will never change your voice.
yeah.
So like that shouldn't be a worry if you're using a true professional book editor. They will not change your voice. And or your story, right? Like they might give you advice on like maybe you need to move this around or maybe you need to explain this better or whatever, but they're not going to change your voice. So yeah. And then in the course we talk a lot about marketing the book because it truly is the way you're going to sell your book. And so there's a lot about marketing in the course. We talk a lot about editing, finding the right editor. Like I said, they're never going to change your voice, a good editor. Now, if you hire Susie down the street that's an English teacher, I can't tell you what she's going to do. But if you actually hire an actual professional editor, they're never going to change your voice. Yeah.
I'll have to read your book. I haven't read it. I just joined your group recently, so.
Oh, well, welcome. I know, and it was so interesting, the last class. So I cap it at about 12 people because I want it to be intimate. And it was half yoga people and half TBI people. And I was like, this is so cool. So it was really cool. And everybody was working on different things. Some people were working on children's books. Donna had a thriller, memoirs, and then like just some inspirational books. So it's really cool to see where everybody comes from and what everybody's working on. Cynthia, what is your, I don't know where you're at on your book journey, but what's your genre that you're thinking?
So I am thinking children's book in the health, with health, food, and the importance of healthy nutrition for kids. I do have a health coaching certification, but I had an unexpected illness with some brain issues. And I secretly, someone years ago, like 30 years ago, wrote a children's book where I used to work in Verizon, and I've held on to it because I was like so impressed that she wrote this book, and I actually held on to it for my kids who are now 12 and 14. And I always had this idea, and I know nothing about writing. I love to journal. I love to write for my personal reasons. I love to talk, but I just kind of always thought it was cool. Like whenever I heard someone, write a book, and I don't know, I would love to share. Like I love having kids eat healthy and get excited about it. So I'd love to write a children's book about it.
Yeah. And I think really children's books are so fun and you don't have to write as much.
That's true. But you're right
like
about
a couple hundred words.
Yeah. The graphics though, I'm like, man, what kind of so many options. And I really don't have any, I guess. Yeah.
Yep. We definitely talk about that. And we have somebody in my group that does that. And that's who did Donna's book. Donna, do you have that? Okay. Do you have it right near you? Can you show us the cover of Lester?
Yes, hold on.
I think that's so cute. I love it. Lester the lion is going to go through all these adventures. I think that's great. Yeah.
I'm like, I know she has it.
Gonna ask you.
Oh, okay. It is the first one.
Move it up just a little.
Oh my goodness, how cute.
Just a little. There you go.
Oh, how cute.
And the publisher, the Kirk House, the hybrid publisher, she did all of the illustrations, which I think is amazing. I've gotten a lot of compliments on the illustrations.
It is so cute. Yeah.
It's adorable.
This one, I just have the proof
Oh!
because it's coming out in June, but this is.
It's great.
So Donna's a great example of how you can build a series. Once you have a kid's book, you can continue building a
I didn't
series.
even
And
think about
when you have more than one book, you can bundle them, you know, and who buys children's books is typically the grandparents. So
Oh,
finding the grandparents is a great
the grandparents. Okay.
thank you,
Would you
Donna.
have any? I was going to ask a question if I had the
Sure.
opportunity. For someone like me who's never done it, just kind of like at all, like, would you have any kind of certain words of encouragement that maybe I haven't thought of? You know, I don't know. I feel so out of my element. You know, it's not.
Everybody
I've
does.
never
I
done it
mean,
either.
Yeah.
none of us, that's the thing. If you've never written a book, you've never written a book before. And
Yeah.
so, you know, don't let, like Donna was worried about her grammar, right? Like don't let things like that, because we can all get in our heads. And then you'll never write that book, or you'll never publish that book
Yeah.
that you already written. So just getting out of your comfort zone. And
Mhm.
you know, another obstacle I hear all the time is like, well, there's already books like this out there. Well, but they're not written by
Yeah.
you. You bring your own unique perspective to it. And like Marie, you bring your own brain, you know, like there's several of us there. Well, there's more than several of us who've written a brain injury
Mhm.
book. But yours is your own unique journey.
Mhm.
You know, I fell on the ice. You know, other people have been in a car accident. Other people have been attacked. Like
Yeah.
brain injuries happen in all different ways. And so you bring your own unique perspective and your own unique journey
Mm.
to whatever, even a children's book, you're bringing your own, you know, you're bringing your
Yeah.
health coaching perspective to it. So
Yeah.
don't, you know, and don't let like the grammar or the editing get in your way, because like
Yeah.
you're
Or I've never
professionals.
done this before, so I'm not going to be good at
Yes,
it. You know, it's
yes,
just
no,
like
don't think that. No, you're going to
I,
be just
I feel,
perfect.
yeah, I feel most comfortable going into it thinking I'm doing this for me and my kids, not necessarily to put it out and like, I don't know. I just feel more comfortable
It's
thinking
a
about it that
legacy.
way. Yeah, just
A
something
book
like
is
so
a
I can show them,
legacy.
look, I did it,
Mhm.
especially after the brain stuff.
Yes,
Like, look what I accomplished.
yes,
I'm gonna get all emotional. Just that's kind of where I want to,
yes,
like, my purpose, I guess, of it.
absolutely. Hmm. I love that. Thank you for
I
sharing
have
that.
one more question. So for people like us, like Donna had already written her book. So what happens in the first part of the your program? I mean, yeah, you have a whole set of lessons or awareness
Hmm.
that you're gonna teach us. And so what happens in the beginning? Because I already have I have a blog, I have a YouTube channel. I'm a holistic health coach, so I've been doing
Hmm.
this for a long time, but I just want to now put my story out there. So what
Hmm.
am I going to be
Yep.
bored, or is there
I don't think you're going to be bored. I mean, Donna's shaking her head. Because I mean, it's just like yoga, right? We're always the student, even when we're a teacher.
that's
And so there's always something to learn. And there might just be that golden nugget that you're like, oh my God, I hadn't thought of that. Um, and I don't think any of it, I mean, even if you already have it written, so like, okay, maybe, you know, laying out your chapters, you might think that's not something you need, but then there might be just like a little nugget and you're like, oh, I should do this instead. I mean, you know,
okay?
there's
I
always
got you.
something to learn. Yeah.
Yes,
And then we
some
do talk
refinements.
a lot about marketing of your book. And I mean, I think if you're already marketing a business, a lot of that goes hand in hand. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, lots of good stuff. Donna,
Okay, thank you.
go ahead.
I can address that just a little bit. One of our classes was on outlining, and when I saw that on the schedule, I was like, ooh, outlining, I don't really need outlining. I've already written it. And I kind of am a pantser in that I write by the seat of my pants. I don't really follow an outline. I just kind of go with whatever.
Me too.
comes into
too.
my head. But
too.
anyway, I got a lot out of the outlining section that we did, because you can retro outline, and that's actually what I did with Paul. And it was like, oh my goodness. So the outlining techniques that like Amy had shown us really helped me, even though it was like kind of like after the fact. So I think that's just an example of how something
Right.
that you think you don't need can still provide useful information.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. I hear
Yeah,
you.
thank you. Great questions, though. Anyone else have any other questions? No? All right. All right. So there's no further questions. I will let everyone go, but just a reminder, we do start next week. We start next the 6th. So I believe that's next Thursday evening. Can't wait to meet everyone in the program. We have about 4 spots left. So if you've been on the fence, grab your seat. And again, if you pay in full, you get that extra one-on-one session with me. And in those one-on-ones, we just go into, if you have very specific questions for me, or if there's something that you're struggling with, we can kind of try and work through that. Whatever it might be, we can go through those more one-on-one in your one-on-one sessions. And we set those up. So every 2 months, we set up a coaching session so that they're not like all at once, they're throughout the course. All right. Well, thank you all so much for being here. Thanks for the great questions. Thank you, Donna, for your testimonial and for answering some of the questions. And if you think of any other questions, shoot me an email. But otherwise, I hope to see you in the class next week. Thank you, everyone, so
Thank you.
much. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.